This is episode 23 of the Fitness Plus Technology podcast with industry leader, author, and board member of Europe Active, Jan Middelkamp.
So we have a very broad mission. It's a lot of different elements we have to address, and that makes it also fantastic. Doesn't matter to me which setting or element it is. To me, the behavior change process and the behavior coaching, that is key to everything. And that's a big mindset. You have to oversee the consumer's behavior in total, and that's where technology is important.
Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. I am your host, Josh Trent, and this is your number one trusted resource for the accelerating world of fitness technology. Each week, we bring you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You'll gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse of what matters most for your fitness business in the age of exponential technologies. This podcast is brought to you by support from our outstanding sponsors, Brian O'Rourke and his family of companies, including Videre Ventures, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and many more. If you're looking for unmatched guidance, capital, insights, or a great speaker or facilitator, Brian and his partners are the go-to resource for your organization. To learn more, visit brianko'rourke.com. We'd also like to thank the Fitness Industry Technology Council, your nonprofit resource for reliable technology information, supported by forward-looking brands who are seeking to drive increased technology adoption in the fitness industry. Make a difference and join at fittechcouncil.org today. Across the industry space, we're well aware that new technologies, including wearables, SaaS platforms, and connected fitness devices found across the world are collecting billions of data points. But the real question that is top of mind for operators, owners, and the industry as a whole is, what do we do with all this data? Specifically, how do we plug in actionable coaching, marketing, and touch points to millions of health club members across the globe that will actually elicit sustainable behavior change? This is one of my favorite episodes we've had on the podcast to date. I know you're going to love the insight and expertise of today's guest, Jan Middelkamp from Europe Active. If you've been curious or hungry for the information that's going to impact your fitness business from a virtual or face-to-face coaching standpoint, this is going to be a powerful episode for you. We're diving into the topics and coaching models that will impact both your ROI and your club operations. So make sure to take some notes and to click over to our show notes page to get all the resources and links mentioned on today's show. Now, let's step in right here, right now with Jan Middelkamp. Jan Middelkamp is a development director at HDD Group and the CEO of Black Box Publishers. With over 35 years of high-level experience in the fitness industry, Jan is now working on a PhD in exercise behavior of members in fitness clubs at the Behavioral Science Institute of Radboud University in the Netherlands. He's also a board member of Europe Active in Brussels and the author of over 10 books, including The State of Research in Global Fitness Industry, Member Retention in Fitness Clubs, Europe Active Retention Reports, and Essentials of Motivation and Behavior Change. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Josh.
One of the topics you and your colleagues are focusing on at FIBO 2017 in April next month is customer engagement, which we'll talk about today. But something that was apparent to me when you and I connected last month was how much energy, dedication, and time that you pour into behavior change and how that relates to our industry. Jan, why do you have such a swell of motivation for behavior change? How does that relate to your background, stemming back to 1969 when you graduated from university?
Hallelujah, that's a long time ago. Am I that old? I am heavily involved in this topic because I think it's the key topic and the key mission in our industry. And I was a club manager when I was very young, and I have built 3 international chains. And if you see the churn in members coming in and coming out, even if they pay the membership, many of them do not attend the club or exercise in the club. So if you look at that problem, you can take different perspectives. You can look at it from a service perspective. Maybe the service should be better. Maybe the loyalty should be improved with loyalty programs. Maybe the financial model should be changed. To me, it's mainly a behavior problem. So that's why I am mainly interested in behavior change. And I see exercise as one type of health behavior. If we then look at what we know about this topic, it's very limited. So we need much, much more research, but also programming and also all kinds of interventions. So since now 25 years, I'm on top of that.
And in 25 years, you've learned a lot In February of 2017, there was an article published in IRSA. It's called "What Do Members Expect from a Health Club?" John McCarthy was quoted here talking about behavior change with membership retention. As behavioral scientists will attest, developing such a discipline is no easy accomplishment. It is difficult for everyone and impossible for some. What do you think about the integration of behavior change models in the fitness industry in regards to clubs? What does that look like right now as we approach 2017 and the bulk of what these programs look like?
I think behavior change and the topic of motivation and behavior should be the guiding topic in the industry. And for many decades, it was not. So we tried to make a very effective program, for example, high intensity training. Within that program, we tried to keep members in as long as possible. We should switch it. We should say, what is something that members can adhere to for a longer period of time? And then we should include other topics. It's the same with diets. What is a good diet? It is actually a diet that you can adhere to for many, multiple years. That's not how most people look at it. Most people try to make a nutritional balanced diet and have fast results, etc. But then always the long term is the problem. So to me, if you look at behavior change, it should be the guiding topic, because it is of no use when you exercise for 4 weeks or 8 weeks. It is of no use when you buy a membership for 1 year, but you only attend the club a few times a month. So that's why I'm thinking that this topic is the guiding topic and the main mission of our industry.
In our talk today, I'm going to quote some of your work from The Essentials of Motivation and Behavior Change, which the president of FITSE, Brian O'Rourke, was also a contributor to. And your chapter was really unique. It was models to understand and predict motivation and behavior change. What are the key behaviors that gym members exhibit, and what are the commonalities in the pitfalls to where people stop those behavior change models? What does that look like right now for people that actually fall off the wagon and get back on?
Most of the models that are scientifically tested, they reduce the complex environment into a model that has some key factors. One downside of a model is always limited, because if you look at behavior of human beings, especially also in exercise, then it's a very complex behavior. So you need to focus. So those models, they focus. If you look at the models, most models address something like social support and influence of others. They always address something like attitudes. There was a strong model in the past on self-motivation, which predicted exercise adherence a lot. If you look at the model I'm studying, that's the trans-theoretical model, it actually says that behavior change does not occur at once. It goes through stages. So there's a lot of testing on the stages, because you can have different stages. Some tested 13 different stages. So now the current model has 5 stages. At least I believe strongly that it should go through stages, and that you per stage have a different kind of intervention. You need different support for people. And within the trans-theoretical model, very well-tested theories like self-efficacy, decisional balance, and processes of change, they are applied to help people to move through the stages. So if you go to research, Dishman and others, they have looked at studies of the last decades, and they came to 66 factors that contribute to exercise adherence. So it's a lot of factors. So if you look at the things I just said, like self-motivation, our industry should, already 10 years or 20 years ago, should measure, if a member comes in, what is his or her self-motivation. Because if you have a low one, then you need more guidance, you need more assistance. We should address things like social support. For example, personal trainers, they are very strong in the social support of the trainer. Mm-hmm. But it's better to have different levels of social support. For example, of a exercise buddy, or the social support at home. And if we look at social support or other ways to adhere to exercise, then we also have to address things to adhere to a nutritional program. And the big thing with nutrition is that many moments of applying the nutritional program, it happens out of sight of the trainer. So you never know what people stick into their mouth. And it should be not something else that is prescriptive. So that makes coaching and addressing situations where you are not at very important.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into that too. We'll definitely talk more about this model you're discussing because that's a passion that I've had for many years. I'm thinking about your time when you were the franchise manager at FitCare. This is, 1994 in the Netherlands. Were you already at that time thinking about these models of change? Were you plugging those into the clubs at that time?
Now, it's a combination. At that time, I was studying exercise science, so I was thinking in terms of models, but I'm also strongly thinking from a practical standpoint. And at that time, when I was a club manager and a manager of franchise clubs, then you just saw that people in certain months like June, July, they just canceled the membership. So I had a little box at that time, and there was a lot of forms in that box. And then other months had less forms. And then you start to question, like, why do they stop now? And so then you start to discuss it. And one moment we interviewed 20 people that stopped being a member of a health club. And we had in total 200 pages of interview protocols. And we analyzed that. If you analyze it, then it's a very complex behavior. So some said to me, like, in the beginning I was very enthusiastic and I felt progression, but at one stage the progression became more difficult. And it costed a lot of time and I had to be at home. And my wife started to complain that why are you always exercising? And then at a certain time I had kids and they demanded a lot of time. So they integrated so many factors. It's very difficult.
It is not a reductionism thing we can do. There's nothing we can say. There's one blanket answer for a very complex issue. Nothing can be solved with a singular answer, correct? And behavior change is no different.
Yeah, so what I describe in the book you just mentioned is that we need a cocktail of factors to really help people. And it is a long list. Actually, if you do the top 10 really well, then we're already doing things better. For example, let's take a very well-known and simple one, goal setting. It's a fantastic self-efficacy-based intervention, very simple. Everybody knows SMART, but how often do we really apply it to members? If we apply it in the first month, do we also do that in the 8th month or 10th month? Do we do it in terms of results-oriented goals, or do we always also focus on process-oriented goals? So not like losing 12 kilograms of weight in 12 weeks, but also like this week I want to exercise 3 times at least a half an hour. Doesn't matter where I do it. Or I want to make my 10,000 steps a day. Let's set a goal. We do 60,000 steps this week. Doesn't matter where you do it, but we achieve this goal. So it's not a result-oriented, but a process-oriented goal. Those simple things are well known, but never applied. Some do it, personal trainers, some qualified personal trainers do it, but many, many do not do it. So in the fitness sector, we have so much limited time with our members that we actually do not really support their behavior change. And that is what we should do. And then you can discuss where can we do it. For example, low budget club, it will be more difficult to do that because you actually facilitate equipment and a club, but there's not a lot of guidance in that. So it is a differentiated model, I know that. But if you really want to help people, then you need a mix. And then the discussion is how much do we put in and what should be the outcome. So what we did in a study that is published in Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, we gave 3 groups, and the third group we gave a coaching session of just a half an hour in a small group, 2 to 6 people, of 30 minutes, and they attended the club 4 times as much, and the dropout halved. It was only half of the first group. So this is a very simple intervention, not that difficult, based on goal setting and self-efficacy, and the result is huge. So we should think in that kind of way.
Your main mission, one of your main missions actually, is to set up more evidence-based behavioral coaching. You're working on the PhD, and what are you finding right now? I mean, you must be absorbing cutting-edge research. You must be really understanding what's working for mass amounts of people. Are there any pieces that we could understand in the fitness industry that we could start applying in clubs during that maybe member orientation process where there's a meeting up front?
I think, first of all, people should just read what's there. And and not a lot of them do that. And then we for sure should apply it. There's a little movie I always use. It's called Stop It. So as a lady has anxiety to be buried alive in a box. And the guy said, okay, I have an intervention for you. It will only take 30 seconds. And then it's done, and just pay cash because it's only short, it's not expensive. And then he said, are you ready for it? Yeah. Should I write something down? She said. And he said, no, it's only 2 words. Stop it.
Yeah.
And that is what we also do to a lot of members. We just have a very simplified model in coaching them. So if people eat too much, then just stop it. So what we should do, for example, with the trans-theoretical model in mind, is have very specific coaching. So what I really like in terms of research, what we found out, if you have the model with the stages of change, you have 5 different stages. You can address a list of health behaviors. Now, the first is exercise. It's physical activity, it's healthy eating, it's not smoking, it's reduced stress, it's a limited sitting time. And you should have like a picture of your customer. Where is my customer for what kind of health behavior in what stage? And then you should match the type of coaching. Now, this is something that the best guys do it, but the majority is not doing this.
Yeah, and the best people are using technology. I am partnered with a company. They've been on the show before. They're called Nudge Coach, and we use wearable technology with clients based on the data their bodies are creating. By the way, I loved what you mentioned. Stop it. It's Bob Newhart. He's a comedic star here in the United States. And so it doesn't always work thinking of reductionism thinking. How do you see, Jan, technology bridging that gap between the knowing and the doing? In the middle, there's the execution. How can technology facilitate better execution in behavior change?
I first of all think that technology is great in measuring the base situation. So if you want to help somebody in terms of exercise and behavior change, you could measure what is the status. But I see a huge advantage of measuring something that is out of your sight. So if you are a personal trainer and you do 2 exercise sessions a week, and you want to also influence your customer on what they do in terms of physical activity every day. Now, then like the iWatch and all kinds of wearable technologies can be used to monitor that. So I strongly believe in that. I also think that health monitoring will be more and more important. The methods are quite simple. You can actually monitor your blood pressure, your cholesterol level. You can monitorize that every day. So in that way, I think it can be a tool to coach people, make them aware of things, and sometimes just do an intervention because you see it's not enough. So I see a huge value for that. Strange enough, we have that for a very long time. So if you look at some technology used by Fiddlings in the past, I think it's 20 years ago, that they had the Pebble. It's the Pebble, and it was not used a lot outside of the club. So we should implement those things much, much more.
We look at this trans-theoretical model, and I want to swing back to that because there are different stages. There's the pre-contemplation, there's contemplation, preparation, action. There's also maintenance. So this is a continuum. It does not stop. You don't go through the phase just one time. How does this relate to members and attrition at gyms? When we look at this model, can you contrast the model between how long members actually stay at the club?
If you look at the trend in boutiques, we actually completely do not know how often and how long they exercise. The trans-theoretical model is explaining that this model, that the behavior is a cyclic behavior. So people are in maintenance but could easily relapse for a month. In my research, a lot of members do that, about 50% at least for 1 month. Multiple do that for 2 months, but then restart the exercise program. So that's fine. And so the approach is important because it should not be an idea that it's a static thing. People go on and on and on. Some people go from pre-contemplation to contemplation, prepare, then stop it, and they go back to pre-contemplation. Sometimes they are in the maintenance stage for one behavior, but they are in like the preparations for another one. If they are in the maintenance stage, so longer than 6 months, it could be that they fall back to the preparation stage, so they stop for 1 month and prepare for another type of exercise. The important thing is that we see that it's a very complex kind of behavior. And if we only focus on exercising in the fitness club, we are missing a huge part of it. The last study we did was published yesterday in Journal for Sports Science and Medicine. And there we had an intervention group of 122 people. And after 26 weeks, 5 were exercising at least 4 times a month. And after 52 weeks, only 3. But then we asked them after 52 weeks, but do you exercise in other settings? And about half of them said, yes, we do that. So people are not only going to a gym. So if you are a gym at Europe Active, we believe it should be the hub, the center. And from there, you can coach people in different settings. Because if you only want to pull them into the club, you're missing a big part of the picture.
This is so refreshing. There has been a trend that I think the fitness industry has been starving for, and that is not having someone come to the gym 25 days out of the month to be healthy. As you had mentioned, healthy happens in the park, at home, at the workplace, and in the club. How can technology make it the hub? You talk about at Europe Active, one of the focuses is being the hub. How do we make the hub, the gym, using technology so that we're still in contact with the clients and what they're doing in their lives?
Brian is talking about this topic a lot, and he has great ideas for this. And it should actually pull all information together. Because if you look at your member like the attendance behavior, you only see how often they come into the club, then you have some information, but you're missing a lot of other information you need to see if they, at the end, have a result. Yeah, so if you take a medicine, if I have a bacterial infection, I want to actually know if this medicine will cure me within like 6 or 7 days. A membership of a health club, you can look at that in the same way, like, is this an effective intervention? Now, usually it is not. Because if you only look at the attendance behavior, it's not enough to be really healthy. Just a few people. So one study we did with 260,000 ex-members, you could actually say that 6,000 of the 260,000 had regular attendance behavior for 24 months. So we have to include technology to see what they do in different other settings. And the coaching based from the fitness center, for example, by a personal trainer, should take this information to have a good coaching. Because it could be that they haven't attended the fitness club for 2 months, but they have been exercising somewhere, or they have done some healthy eating in the last period of time. So you have to know that. So technology will be used to pull that information together.
What is the biggest disruption that you see from your vantage point? You travel around the world. You see clubs in many different situations. What is the major disruption that's happening right now in regards to behavior change in clubs?
There's almost no really systematic approach to behavior change in clubs. I think Jim Anesi in the YMCA's, he has this coach approach program. He's doing that in a real advanced way, meaning that he's really coaching behavior, but multiple clubs, they are not doing that. With the trend of boutique clubs, I think it's even less, because there's not like a guidance. If somebody only is doing group fitness, they are missing the overall coaching. For example, if an ignorant consumer is doing group fitness 3 times a week, he's doing it on Monday morning, Monday evening, and Tuesday morning, he will have less results than when there is a guy like a personal trainer who says, no, let's do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then also include some physical activity and a healthy diet. So this, you have to oversee the consumer's behavior in total. And that's where technology is important.
What are the things that aren't working in regards to behavior change that people believe are working? For example, what is the orientation process that's successful versus what is the old tried and true model based on legacy systems where the client comes in and it's the same paperwork, it's the same process? How can we change that system so that we're using technology to orient the member in the beginning of their journey so they have long-term success?
Let me answer this in a simple way. Would you take a medicine which would not be tested?
Absolutely not.
If you are sick, and somebody tells you, hey, I have this medicine for you, take it. Maybe you die, maybe you cure. You never know. It's not tested, but just try it. So we don't know in the fitness industry. We have no clue about many, many things. It's not tested. In the meantime, we say exercise is medicine. Look at us, we are the best. And if we know something, then it's on physiology. We know a lot. We know things about exercise and health. That's well studied. But in behavior change, we don't know. Sorry for that saying, but no shit. It's really limited, the amount of information we have. So if you have new members in the club, what to do with them? We have some indications, correlations, that if you have 5 visits in the first month, then members stay longer. But that's the same as what I always use in presentations. I see a correlation between the amount of ice creams and drownings in the swimming pool. There's a high correlation of 0.8. And people say, oh, shouldn't people then eat ice creams? Because then the amount of people that drown increases. It's a simple explanation is that when there are more people, there are more opportunities to drown and also more ice cream sold. So that's actually saying nothing. So there's so many relationships we don't know about. We don't know it.
Correlation and causation are two different things, is what I'm hearing
Completely
from you.
Different. So many things also in URSA reports are always a description of a situation with correlations. But it's not a cause-effect relationship. So very difficult to say if it is effective.
This is fascinating, and I love where we're exploring. I want to quote something from the book here in your chapter, Essentials of Motivation and Behavior Change. You talked about identifying specific needs, motives, and goals of the client. This is what really drives the client or member. Why is that such a key piece to understand in the very beginning?
Now, if you want to motivate somebody, you have to really know what brings him to exercise or to your club. So what some clubs or chains do, they ask for a motive, and often it is something like, I want to be more fit or healthy, or I will lose weight. So if you really want to know the background of that, you have to know, why do they want to lose weight? Do they want to lose weight because their dad had a heart attack and he was overweighted? So they have some anxiety to have that too. Do they want to look better on the beach? It's a completely different motive. Or their sex life is shit and they want to lose weight to have a real good sex life again. Completely different motives. So if you want to coach people on their real drive, then you have to know those backgrounds. And then you go to a theory called self-determination theory. There you see that basic needs are actually driving people the most. So people don't want to elementary lose weight. That's not the core thing. You can, by just example, not keep on losing weight. What they at the end want, they want to control something like eating and weight. It's the same that I want to control my financial situation. If you always spend, it's everything. I'm out of control. Yeah. People like control. That's the main motive. So the people working in fitness clubs, fitness professionals, they need more understanding of this, and they have to go more in depth to understand what people want.
I think you've done an incredible job of painting out the gaps and where we're falling short in the industry. How do you think we can fill those gaps as we look at 2017, 2018? What is your work in your PhD with behavioral science and studies? And what is one of your missions that you have working with Europe Active to heal some of these gaps, to bridge that gap between the knowing and the doing when it comes to behavior change?
Yeah, with Europe Active, we want to have more people more active more often. And at the end, that should lead to improved health. So that's what we want. So if you look at that picture, it's saying not only to exercise in fitness clubs. Now, I'm a huge fan of fitness clubs. We do a fantastic job. A lot of people like the flexibility, the environment. To many people, it's great, but not everyone. So we need more. If you look at what do people like to do, then, for example, group fitness is fantastic. People like to be inspired by music and by a coach and a teacher and instructor and other people to support. So that's all great. So we have a very broad mission. It's a lot of different elements we have to address, and that makes it also fantastic. Doesn't matter to me which setting or element it is. To me, the behavior change process and the behavior coaching, that is key to everything. And that's a big mindset. If somebody says, I like to exercise once a week and I will do that for 10 years, then I will say that's much better than when they say, I like to exercise for 5 times a week, but I can only stick to that for 1 year. It's just a different mindset. So, for example, the high intensity training programs, that's great for people who exercise a lot and are well trained. But people who have less physical condition and start to exercise, they should not train too intense, because we know from a lot of studies that they will drop out.
Yeah.
So the whole focus on the long term, that is key. Something we also have to account is there's, to me, 3 types of behavior. So if you going to exercise twice a week with a personal trainer, I call that a big habit. It's impacting your normal daily life a lot, because it's not only the 1 hour. You have to maybe take your kids to the childcare center, and you have to
traveling.
Yeah, you have some traffic jams. It's hours you spend. Then you have some medium types of behaviors, and you have the tiny behaviors. The medium type could be something that you can implement more easy in your life. For example, if you have a job sitting at a desk and you have lunch, don't eat your lunch sitting at a desk again. Do a walking lunch. Now, that's not too difficult to implement. People usually, and also behavior coaches, they forget to implement those simple strategies. And then the tiny habits are even more simple. For example, if you go to the toilet, after that, make 10 squats and do simple things. Simple things like take the stairs. Or we have sold a book, published a book called Sitting is Killing. Just stand up every half an hour.
I love that you mentioned the small habits, the tiny habits. It reminds me of B.J. Fogg's work at Stanford. I'm sure you're familiar with the tiny habits model.
He is the guy who thought of this idea. So I literally quote him. So the example with the squats, it's Fogg's idea. Yeah.
People are not swayed into action by just information.
Nope.
Most people make changes in behavior due to emotion, not facts and figures. This is not a bad thing, because our emotions coupled with our logical intellect is what makes us human.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the show here, how do we do this, Jan? How do we take technology and how do we use it for behavior change involving human emotion?
Yeah, emotion or unconsciousness. So there's a lot of focus not recently, but last 10 years on unconscious processes in many things, like priming and framing, and a lot of things are studied, but not in the context of exercise. So we should do that. We should just apply what we know or what we could know. I had a professor who said the physicians, they should actually read 2 days a week, because if they do not, they are back in knowledge on curing people. And there's so much information, so much research, people don't read it. I was doing a seminar at CanFit Pro a few years ago and asked people, hey, who knows about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People of Stephen Covey? Now, from 100 people, 2 knew the book. I said, you must be kidding now. Oh. It's impossible. So that book is from '89. So a lot of people haven't read it. So we should read more, or at least take more information, like if it is a podcast or anything, make it accessible for them and then apply it. Then we need more research, because we actually don't know anything. So I did a systematic review on what we know on exercise behavior in fitness clubs. It's 33 studies in the last 30 to 40 years. That's it.
This is fascinating, and I think we could talk about this for a long time, but I want to wrap up the show here. This is the last part of the show. This is where we get to know you a little bit deeper. It's 6 really fast questions in our Fit 6 round for 6 real answers. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Being an entrepreneur or being a club operator is not always an easy thing. So can you share with us one of the more difficult times in your career that allowed you to transcend that? What did that look like, facing the challenge and then transcending it?
Now, I've experienced a lot of problems with a few chains I worked for. We grew from 15 clubs to 150 clubs in 3 years. So then you're challenged in how to keep up with people. Can you really hire the right people? It's really systems change. Go from 1 to 3 countries. That's really a mess. So that was a hard time, and you only work 100 hours a week. So that is a difficult one.
What really transcended you there? Was it the working the 100 hours, or was it more of a mindset or an acceptance?
Now, what you really have to do at that time is focus on the real key issues and let the other details go.
What's one of the best pieces of advices that you've ever received when it comes to staying fit in your body as you work in the fitness industry? What motivates you there?
I have no problems to exercise. I exercise 5 times a week. I'm really fit. I was in the national judo team for many years, so I'm used to healthy eating and weight loss, and I'm used to exercise. But this Professor Fogg, for example, he inspired me in a way like, in our industry, we should also focus on the little things. So if you take the stairs, take 2 levels at once, 2 steps, and then do simple things.
It's a tertiary question, but we have these smartphones, so we have this instant gratification all day long. Do you feel like delayed gratification also keeps you healthy? These walking extra flights of stairs, parking far away from the store. How does that delayed gratification work for you, and then also for people in changing their behavior?
The best thing you can do in life is have as much as possible intrinsic motivation. So, for example, healthy eating. I hate unhealthy eating. I can do that for a very long time. It's not that it's something special for me to do. If you have kids, for example, you focus on the future much, much more, and you focus on long-term things.
What surprised you the most in the past 2 years when you look at fitness and technology? Has there anything that surprised you that's come up?
Maybe how ignorant people are when it comes to behavior change. It's incredible. And how little people really read and listen. I'm so surprised about the level of knowledge in many fitness professionals, what they really, really know. Maybe I'm a freak and I read a lot and I can reproduce all the models. And if I read a book like The Speed of Trust, I know the 4 levels of trust and I can actually give a seminar on it. But they just want to shout out their own opinion. It's getting worse. So people want to be their own rock star and tell everyone what they think. Hey, come on. If you, for example, enter the fitness sector and you just tell people how retention works, first read all the publications that are produced in the last 30 years and what people did with it and did wrong and learned, and then maybe have your own opinion. So people are I'm surprised by how little people want to really learn and, for example, read.
That's a clear takeaway, to obviously read about something that not only you do for a living, but also hopefully if you're in the fitness industry, it's a passion. It's something that you're not just doing for a job. This is the last question. What do you see as the potential of fitness and technology for business and for health in the future?
Now, first of all, I think technology is a tool. So it's not the goal itself. Sometimes people talk about it and like it's the most important thing and technology. I'm a guy who likes human beings, and I want to help human beings to be more healthy, have a high quality of life, blah, blah, blah. So it's a tool, and everybody should try to integrate it in their own life in a way that they can use it for many, many years. If you take an iPhone, it's a fantastic tool, but it also has some downsides. So we have to manage the pros and cons. So I'm looking at my phone almost every 5 minutes. It is completely sick. Why do I do that? So that's an important thing where we have to. So my message is the focus should always be on humans and behavior, and the technology should not like sprint away from the humans. It should be helping them to have a better and more healthier life, and that will happen. It is important, and we need people like Brian to talk around the world and explain that, because even when I read, I edited his chapters for the books, and he's also in the book of this year, that then a lot of things I don't even know. Yeah. So it is really important to tell people the possibilities, and it's much, much more than everybody knows, and then implement it in a human being's life.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to us about the truth about health clubs and behavior change, because some of the things that you mentioned, I think people have been considering, but this is going to cause them to take some inspired action and possibly get a book or two to read. We'll link in the show notes the essentials of motivation and behavior change. Is there any other parting guidance for a club owner looking at possibly instilling more behavior change in their club?
I think what club owners should do is be aware of this topic, that is the main mission, and then have a program to coach and teach your employees, like personal trainers, but also receptionists, to really focus on this. So implement it in your educational program.
Jan, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your expertise with us. Where can people learn more about what you're doing in 2017? Is there a specific website or a project that you're putting a lot of energy to for 2017?
No, they should go to blackboxfitness.com. It's a lot of research and free publications over there. You have the Europe Active Knowledge Center, and they can go to my own website, janmiddelkamp.com. And I know Ursa has a lot of great publications. Read the stuff of Brian. I'm a big fan of that. And read. Listen to podcasts like this one and many others. So just eat information as much as possible and then apply it, of course.
Jan, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you much, Josh.
Jan believes that as we move forward, the Health Club must be the fitness technology hub that pulls all the lifestyle information for the member together in one place. If you look at the member through the attendance behavior lens, you only have some of the information, and you're missing a lot from other pieces you'll need to see if you really want your clients to have long-term sustainable results. For lifelong behavior change, you must oversee the customer's habits in total. That's where to include technology to see what members are doing in other settings. And in the coaching base from the fitness center, a trainer must make the right informational choices based on the data at hand. The uncomfortable reality in our space is that researched and validated behavior change models are currently disconnected from the majority of health clubs in our industry. In other words, the application of identifying the specific needs, motives, and goals of the client, which is what really drives long-term success, are missing. Jan believes if we truly want to motivate someone, we have to understand their intrinsic and extrinsic motivation factors and plug those into their journey, because with the demands of our current society and deleterious health factors on the rise, sustainable behavior change models are the secret sauce that owners and operators must pay attention to when we look at this crossroads of technology and fitness. Thank you for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Here's a quick message from Brian O'Rourke.
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for doing this great podcast. Friends, if you're enjoying this podcast, you're really going to enjoy following at Fit Tech Council. Follow me at Brian K. O'Rourke. And you'd really, really do us a big favor if you could go on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this and give us a 5-star. If you're enjoying it, please give us a 5-star and please share this podcast. Help spread the word about technology and the great opportunities it is creating for our industry space. Thanks so much for listening.